The next day's papers sealed the fate of Heaven's Gate, Michael Cimino, Stephen Bach, and Andy Olbeck. Vincent Canby in the New York Times wrote with abandon and malice. Heaven's Gate fails so completely, he began. You might suspect Mr. Cimino sold his soul to the devil to obtain the success of The Deer Hunter, and the devil has come round to collect. Watching the film is like a forced 4-hour walking tour of one's own living room. Heaven's Gate is an unqualified disaster.
Well, I read Vincent Canby's. I don't read reviews. That's the first thing. I read Vincent Canby's because it actually had the line in it, like being given a 4-hour tour of your own living room, and I just wanted to see how bad can a review be, and it was really scathing, angry review. I mean, basically, everything that people hated about the direction of film was piled onto Michael.
I think the critics were reviewing the production history. They were rewriting their reviews for The Deer Hunter, which they thought they had overpraised. They were getting back at what they perceived as a hostile treatment from the director. I think they were slapping United Artists for having allowed this to happen. But I never felt that there was a real serious attempt to see what is this picture trying to do, and does it succeed on its own terms? It didn't succeed on the terms they wanted to lay on the picture. And that was what they were writing about, was their terms for the picture, not the picture's terms.
On November 24th, 1980, after a one-week run in New York, United Artists and Michael Cimino took out a full-page ad in Variety and The Hollywood Reporter. It read, "Dear Andy, so much energy, time, and money have gone into the making of Heaven's Gate that I am asking you to withdraw the film from distribution, to allow me to present to the public a film finished with the same care and thoughtfulness with which we began it." It was signed, sincerely, Michael Cimino.
Even bad movies have at least something good you can say about them, and this one had nothing.
The American film industry is still trying to cope with a major news story out of Hollywood this week. A $40 million film by an Oscar-winning director may be the biggest bomb in Hollywood history. Get the story now.
Writer-director Michael Cimino, who spent 2 years and $36 million on Heaven's Gate.
For 2 years, Michael Cimino had worked ceaselessly, risked everything, put his whole self into Heaven's Gate, only to have the critics eviscerate it.
The more you saw that there was nothing on that screen there at all, nothing at all. I mean, not even a good performance. You couldn't even single out one great performance. You know, usually every movie has one great scene. Even bad movies have at least something good you can say about them, and this one had nothing.
It was, it was like, how can they not like our child, I mean, that's how you feel. It's it's very personal, and you don't want to believe that you have an ugly baby. Nobody does. Every baby's beautiful. And, don't they see the qualities and don't they understand? You just think they're ignorant.
Michael was blown out of the water. I always felt like it was like you had a beloved child, of yours murdered, and then the murder blamed on you. And it was unjust.
Heaven's Gate had been pulled by United Artists at Cimino's request after only a one-week run in New York. UA had hoped to give the film a second life, but it was a decision that quickly backfired. Heaven's Gate was transformed from a simple flop into a full-blown media event.
The notion of industry stories and business stories seeping into the national media had already begun in a certain way, and this was something that really kind of burst the floodgates.
Expensive movies ever made, and in
Heaven's
its original
Gate
version
has been yanked by United Artists.
Panned so bad that it was immediately withdrawn so that large parts could be cut out.
Tell us United Artists knew Heaven's Gate was in big trouble 6 months ago.
Somebody ought to have said stop to this film, but no one did.
It was a disaster. It was a disaster creatively because people misunderstood and thought that we, United Artists, had forced Michael to do the withdrawal and the cutting, which wasn't true at all. It was totally Michael's idea as far as I've ever heard.
I don't care where the idea came from. It was a horrible idea to pull the film. Because it was an admission that everybody thought Canby was right.
Michael always did what Michael wanted to do, and now he wanted to make it shorter. Because he wanted the film to see the light of day, and he wanted people to like the film. He wanted it to be seen. So he was then determined that he was going to try and bring it down and make it more presentable. Although he may not personally agree with that, he was going to do his best to try and make it more presentable.